Hey there, Indiana. Good evening. Welcome to the third in our series, which we are titling this week at the Indiana Statehouse. Here, a collaboration between Progressive Indiana Network and the good folks at MADVoters, who provide the most indispensable education and advocacy information in the state. And they're doing a great job tracking all the legislation going on at the State House for us. And their director of advocacy, Katie Rector, is here with me this evening to fill us in. Katie, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you so much, Scott, for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
You guys stay safe out there, staying warm, staying out of the foot of snow.
Somewhat. Yeah, trying to. I mean, I'm in our garage type thing right now, which is accounting for the background. But yeah, we're trying to. My husband was out shoveling snow and moving stuff around earlier today, so we're good. Just been cuddled up inside, bought the wood stove, trying to stay warm.
Oh, there you go. Good day for that. I understand, though, that the weather may actually affect the legislative schedule this week.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, they actually just announced it within about an hour. They're delaying a lot of what's happening at the State House tomorrow. I've updated our bill tracker to account for that. But the House is not going to meet at all tomorrow. So no House committees, no House session. Senate, the floor is meeting, the Senate session in the afternoon, but the Senate committees are not. So yeah, they probably, kind of polled their members and we're trying to figure out, who can get there, who doesn't. And the Senate has fewer people, so it makes sense, I guess, that they were able to make it work. But I did update our bill tracker. It'll be a really busy day on Tuesday because there's a bunch of bills moving through. We had thought tomorrow, was going to be the big day, but it'll be Tuesday instead, unless they delay again. We'll see. But again, we'll be able to update our bill tracker on our website.
And I should, remind folks. Sorry, Katie. I want to make sure we give the pitch for the MADVoters bill tracker at madvoters.org. This tool allows you to follow along all the bills that MADVoters is tracking, view upcoming actions, see the current bill status, review simplified bill explanations. They really lay it all out for you. You guys do such good work, and there's a mobile-friendly view and a spreadsheet for deep dives. But bills move quickly at the State House, and you guys stay on top of it. Just indispensable information. I cannot toot your horn enough.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, we've done this for a few years now, and every year it feels like we, polish it up a little bit more and really get things figured out even better. And this year I've just been really excited. We have such a great team. We've got folks who watch the live streams who can provide that really nitty gritty insight of this is what, this legislator said, or this was even the tone they said it with, because they're watching live. And that's something that's available for anyone. You can go to the IGA, Indiana General Assembly website, and you can watch these proceedings live, which I think is, if you can, it's a really good opportunity to just kind of see what's being said and how it's being talked about. And recordings are posted there too. But we also have a fantastic tech team who has made our website bill tracker possible. And so, like you said earlier, there's a spreadsheet version, but that's not super viewer friendly on mobile. The redesigned bill watcher on the website for this year works great on mobile, and you can even take a screenshot of the bill. You can see the contact info, who to call, where the bill is in the legislative process. So we really just strive to make it as accessible and easy as possible, because these are bills that impact our everyday lives, and yet taking the time to break them down and understand what they mean and what's happening, that takes a lot of time. People don't have that time. So we're
there's so much. There's all the legal mumbo jumbo and the confusing language that's kind of in there intentionally to make it hard for these things to parse, and such valuable stuff. So, Katie, give us the kind of lay of the land. Where are we in the session right now?
This has been a weird one. So, you guys all remember last month, almost 6 weeks ago now at this point, we defeated redistricting. Yay. And so instead of that being a special session, it was actually the 2026 session, even though it wasn't 2026 yet. But it was in the window where they could call it that. And so they spent 2 weeks there to do the redistricting or try to, and it failed. And so what they're trying to do this year is expedite things so that they can finish up like 2 weeks earlier. Now, this was already going to be a short session because this was a non-budget year. In the budget, it takes longer to develop. So that one goes, through April. Typically, in a shorter session like this, we would see it into March. They're wanting to finish by the end of February. Now, is Mother Nature going to cooperate at this point? I don't know.
Yes, we will see. Won't we?
One day, but we'll see. So that means that, things are moving quickly, and we are already approaching the halfway point. So we got started with this at the beginning of January, basically, except for the weird 2 weeks in December. And so this upcoming week, we're going to have House bills finishing up in the House, Senate bills finishing up in the Senate. And then we have what's known as crossover. And so that will happen basically like this coming next weekend. Any House bills that are still left over and to be still alive, they have to have passed this committee hearing.
It's your audio.
Oh, are you losing me?
There you are.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Holler at me if that goes out. How much did you lose? How much did you repeat?
Not much. Just a couple seconds. Yeah. You're
okay, good.
Gone.
Okay. Yeah. So all the House bills that have tomorrow was going to be the big day. With a delay, I guess they're going to make it Tuesday instead as this big deadline day, which is the committee deadline. So the bills need to be heard in committee in order to move forward. And only, a small fraction of the bills are actually even scheduled for the hearing. And that's at the discretion of the chairperson. And so, we'll have a lot of bills that die basically after Tuesday because they weren't scheduled for a hearing. So then the rest of the week, they'll finish out the process in the House, they'll finish out in the Senate, and then we cross over. House bills go to the Senate, Senate bills go over to the House. They get reassigned to a committee, and then same thing. The committee chairperson has the discretion of whether or not they want to call up a bill for consideration. And the committee part is where we have like our opportunity for public comment, public testimony. Usually like 2 to 3 minutes is what they limit. But that's really valuable. I mean, that's when we, the people, can come in and speak to these legislators. You can also, of course, always call and email your legislators, but the committee is valuable because you're addressing a group who has a lot of power, either changing a bill for the better, stopping a bad bill, or amending it for better or for worse. And so that's kind of where we find ourselves right now is approaching crossover. And so you'll see on our bill tracker, I've already gone through and marked a bunch of bills like as dead because they're not on the schedule for Monday, well, Tuesday now, meaning they're dead. The thing is as we go through the process, bills get amended, changed. Lawmakers can pick out, language from a dead bill and amend it into a live bill. So, it's
zombie bills.
The zombie bills, yeah. So we have to be vigilant for that. So, some of the bad bills that we might talk about tonight, they may die. They may continue through. There may be bills that we don't talk about tonight that all of a sudden here in a week or two, we're like, whoa, we need to take action against this. And so that's why our bill tracker on our website, MADVoters.org, is dynamic. It's live. Any changes we make on the back end, you guys can see instantaneously too. And so that's something that we check throughout the day and we're making updates to. It's not one of those things where you have to wait every night and you're like a day behind. You can see what's happening as quick as we can post it.
Yeah, well, let's get into it then, Katie. We'll start, I guess, with the supermajority's priorities. That's a rhyme. Didn't intend that, but so the House, their top two bills were concerning housing affordability and utility affordability, which, hey, sounds like a great idea. Yeah. I always wonder with our supermajority, what are they really up to? But it's promising potentially. Where are we at on those two?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, so
yeah.
The housing bill right now, it's huge. It's one of those things, you don't want to just say we unilaterally support or unilaterally oppose it, because it's a massive bill and it can still dramatically change. The concern with this one, they're wanting to increase the supply of affordable housing, which that's great. But there's some concerns that, are we getting to the point where we're deregulating too much and we're making things that are unsafe, or things that just are overruling local control, basically. So there's a little bit of concerns there, but there's still potential with that House bill. The utility bill overall right now looks better. When we look at like the committee votes, you can see that there is some split with like the housing, where not all lawmakers are supporting that housing bill. But, like, you look at the utility bill and it's passed unanimously out of committee. So that one seems a little bit more promising, the 1002. It's going to be up for the second reading, which is like where the whole House or the whole Senate can offer amendments. And so that was supposed to be tomorrow. It is now Tuesday because of the weather. And so we'll hear lawmakers kind of debate the bill, offer changes to the bill. With it being a Republican supermajority, they control every committee, and they have such a large number that if they want to pass a bill a certain way, they can do it. We don't have enough of a check and a balance to where, there's enough Democrats as the minority party to vote in a way that can balance out or have significant power to really change, a bill. So that's why it's really important for us to be vigilant. And I think sometimes people think, what's the point? It's a supermajority. And to that, I would say, like, look at redistricting.
Yep.
If they wanted to redraw those maps, they would have done it in August. They tried and tried all through, months, quarter of a year, to get those through. And ultimately they didn't. And we know that they had political pressure on them. We know that some members of the supermajority vehemently opposed it just because it was so anti-democratic. But we also know some of them, the only reason they did oppose it is because of political pressure of their constituents. So yes, we are in a supermajority situation, but that doesn't mean that we just shut up and don't try. We still make our voice heard. It still counts. It's just we have to work twice as hard. So
it's weird this time, I feel like, because with the redistricting fight, the House went right along with Trump. It wasn't really up for debate. They went ahead and passed it pretty comfortably. But in the Senate, there was pushback. They were a little bit more moderate and reasonable. Now here, with these priority bills this time, 1001 and 1002 seem like reasonable, moderate bills that actually might make things better for Hoosiers in certain cases. But on the Senate, they went in with I think a hard culture war bill for like their one priority item, and that's SB 1. That's Chris Garton. We've talked about him in this space many times before. That guy is scary. Let's talk about Senate Bill 1. That, I guess, has already passed third reading. It's further along than anything we've talked about so far.
Right. Yeah. So, Senate Bill 1's already ready for crossover. So it's already going to head to the House. Basically, it's codifying changes from the big, beautiful bill. But that federal mandate that's coming down on the states still have quite a bit of flexibility in how they want to implement it. And Indiana, unfortunately, with SB 1, and again, it's not done yet, but they're going very strict with it in terms of limiting who can access Medicaid, who can access SNAP, increasing eligibility checks, which not only is expensive, when you talk about like administrative expense of having to do all of these extra checks, but you also run the risk of accidentally kicking off people who shouldn't be, so kicking people off of their benefits who really are rightfully should be on there, but there's an administrative or paperwork error. So that's
paperwork hoops.
Yep. Right. But this is people's health care and food we're talking about, for them, this is serious. And it's just a shame that's been the priority when we hear so many people are struggling with housing and food and groceries and utilities, and their solution to that is, we're just going to make it harder for people to access it, kicking people off and saying, look, now we only have, this many people who are on SNAP and Medicaid, that's, the problems are still there. It just maybe looks like you've resolved a problem, but all you've done is just kicked all these people off who still have great needs, but now they don't have the hand up that they needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There was another one that's already done the crossover, or will be crossing over rather. It's passed, is SB 12. And that was kind of a weird one. They're preemptively banning ranked choice voting, which is just strange. We don't do ranked choice voting in Indiana.
We should. Yes.
Right. I mean, in terms of, the will of the people, the voice of the people, that would make sense. And I think it helps sort of even out some of this polarization. So for them to target ranked choice voting and say, this is something that we'll never do in Indiana, just why? We have one of the worst voter turnouts in the country. We should be improving voter education and voter access, not making it harder. And unfortunately, as we've seen in years past, that's just not the priority. So those are kind of the ones.
And they say it's too confusing, right? Like people don't know how to make a list. I mean, we've all gone grocery shopping. We all read BuzzFeed articles. We know how to make a list.
Right. And I mean, other states do it successfully. So it's just a shame. It's really a shame that, they're basically saying, oh, the voters are too dumb. No. That's not.
And conservative states too. It's not just like New York City that uses ranked choice voting. They use it in Alaska to pretty good effect.
Yeah.
So let's look at what else we got. Continuing on these sort of culture war issues. Obviously, a big one is immigration. Senate Bill 76. The author is Liz Brown. Oh, there's Chris Garton again. Just the murderer's row of some of our worst legislators. So what is this bill attempting to do?
We're concerned with SB 76 because it's just strengthening the enforcement of immigration laws, and we anticipate that it's going to be up for the final vote. It's already passed the second reading. It's been amended by the Senate, and so they'll put it up for a vote probably this next week. I would assume they have to if they want it to go over to the House. We know that this has been a big priority. They're wanting to focus on immigration. It's just immigration has become such a scapegoat, we know this. I mean, we just witnessed the murder of someone in Minnesota for protesting ICE. I mean, this is something at the top of everyone's mind, and it just I think is becoming more and more obvious to folks that this euphemism of we're keeping our community safe or we're deporting all these criminals. It falls apart. I mean, that's not what's happening. Nor is it something that should really be happening. That's not really the issues facing Hoosiers,
Is this bill even necessary? Are we not fully cooperating with federal immigration authorities already in the state of Indiana? I mean, is this a demonstration of our fealty to Trump? Is this hey, look, we're going to do the thing so you don't have to, don't come pick on us like Minnesota?
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely it's trying to jockey into place of look how loyal we are as this Republican state, as this red state. Again, I would go back to, just because we are a supermajority doesn't mean that the rest of us need to just sit down and be quiet. There's, a large section of our population does not agree with. And I would even say too, within the Republican sphere, there's more and more people who are saying this isn't how it's supposed to be. And to those people, it's one of those things of the best time to stop something bad is before it happened, right? But to the conservatives, the independents, the libertarians who are kind of coming on board saying whoa, this stuff with ICE, this stuff with immigration, this is too much. Good. Okay, at least you're coming on board now. So it's the second best time. If you couldn't have done it earlier, at least you're coming on board now. I mean, I think a lot of these immigration bills, they're it's like a theater, right? It's look what all we're doing. The reality is, I mean, immigrants commit crimes at a smaller rate than citizens. we don't have this big immigrant invasion or immigrant, crime spree or whatever other dehumanizing language that they want to use. But it's just it's the culture war of the year. Last year it was DEI. The year before that it was CRT, or LGBTQ plus issues. Like, it's just every year there's some marginalized population to pick on.
It's always something. You gotta jangle the keys in front of people with something to scare them. Ooh, scary immigrants, scary DEI, scary queer people, while they're picking your pockets.
Yeah, I mean, because at the end of the day, it doesn't help affordability, it doesn't help accessibility, it doesn't help any of those things. So, one of the other big priorities, I would say, with the supermajority is dealing with our schools. We saw a couple years ago with the new budget, them open up the private school voucher system to anyone in Indiana can get a school voucher. There's no income limit. And we've seen some really good studies. ICPE, Indiana Coalition for Public Education, great tool on their website. Organization. Yep. You can go to their website and you can type in your school district and you can see just how much money that should have gone to your public school actually got pulled away to go to the private school program. And I mean, we're talking millions and billions of dollars, billions with a B, over the course of the last few years that this voucher program has been in effect since 2011. So vouchers are universal here in Indiana. So the next thing is the charter system. And a lot of people will use them interchangeably. They're not the same. A private school is private, mostly religiously affiliated here in Indiana. Charter is, they say, technically public, because it's supposed to admit any student. The issue with that is they have private boards. So they're not accountable to local folks, to local taxpayers. They're exempt from some of the regulations. The supporters say, well, that gives us more flexibility. And it's like, okay, but on the other side, now you don't have to do, X, Y, Z on the to-do list that a real public school does. And yet you're saying, well, I'm a public school. It's like, well, no. I mean, it's like we're sort of comparing apples and oranges. And so what we're seeing now that they've got the private school system, they've done that. Now they're focusing on charter schools. So how can we convert more of our public schools into charter schools? How can we consolidate and allow more charter schools to open under a single authorizer or a single supervisor, basically? Less oversight is the problem. Less oversight from voters, less oversight from the public, and our charter schools do have, unfortunately, a documented history of fraud and misuse of dollars. And so that's a concern we've got with the accountability of taxpayer dollars. And, I was watching a live stream the other day on the House floor, and might have been Representative Delaney, I think. I'll have to go back. But he made this good metaphor of, we have a bird bath. Okay. And the bird bath is the education funding in Indiana. And we're just bringing more birds to the bird bath. Now we have all these private schools. Now we have all these charter schools, all these birds at the bird bath, but we're not adding any more water. We're not adding any more funding. And that's not good for anyone. It's not good for our public school students, to whom they deserve those public dollars, but it's also not good for the charter school students, or the private school students. Like, you're creating this system where we're trying to fund three separate lanes of education without substantially increasing the funding into it. It's a recipe for disaster. Right. I mean, that house of cards is going to fall.
Three separate buildings, all that infrastructure that goes into it. There's only so much money. It's not efficient to do things that way. Not. For all the talk of government efficiency, remember that was all the rage the last year. Right. It's not efficient to try to run three separate school systems with public money, and not to mention the constitutional problems you might run into, funneling public money to private religious schools, especially. But our current Supreme Court seems to think this is just fine.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and so that whole idea of efficiency brings us to HB 1423. And this is one that they heard it in the committee hearing already. They've already done public testimony, but they did not take a vote on it. And they were supposed to take the vote tomorrow, but now it'll be Tuesday with the weather. But basically, there was a separate entity created called ILEA, which is an Indianapolis Local Education Alliance, which sounds really cool, but actually what it is it's mostly charter school representation, mayoral representation, and just a little bit of IPS. And so one of their recommendations to the General Assembly earlier this winter was, you guys should create some sort of entity that oversees transportation and a lot of the other decision making over IPS and all these charter schools, because IPS has a lot of charter schools that it works with. And so the concern there is we're reducing the governing power of the elected IPS school board, and we're transferring most of their authority to an all-appointed board, new entity. So we're inserting another layer of bureaucracy, and we're also taking away like local control, local ownership, because now we're taking away democracy, because now it's going to be all these appointed positions, and that's been one that has been widely opposed by IPS parents in the local community, and yet the powers that be are really pushing it through.
Yeah, we've been talking about this one here in these spaces for months. I've talked to one of these concerned IPS parents, and City Councilor Jesse Brown is out against this thing. I believe this week the NAACP of Indiana said they opposed this bill. It subverts the locally elected, democratically elected school board to this appointed board, which is stacked with donors to the mayor and to the state reps. Funny how that works, that the Republican state reps and the Democratic mayor of Indianapolis all have the same donors. It's a big club and we ain't in it.
Yeah. And it's just, it's not like we don't have data. I mean, we look at other states who have, moved to more of this privatized system and moved away, more into like a school takeover. We have, years now here in Indiana, and it just shows that when you're moving to more privatized systems, whether it's a real private school or it's, the charter school, and they say, well, it's a public charter. And it's like, with a private board, like, you're sort of splitting hairs here. They're both privatization, and the outcomes don't support it. Your graduation rates aren't better. In fact, public schools have much better graduation rates than charter schools. It's not supported by evidence, but where it is it's money.
And I think Arizona's a couple years ahead of us on going to universal school choice, they call it, and it has backfired. It has not gone well, and in their state legislature, they're having to go put a bunch of band-aids on it now.
Yeah, it's incredibly expensive.
There was some good news along this lines. Wasn't there? There was a similar bill meant to take over the South Bend community schools in the same fashion. That one died, didn't it?
Yeah. Senator Linda Rogers, I think, withdrew it. I would imagine she probably was facing a lot of significant public outcry. She wanted to, her bill would have taken away the elected school boards in South Bend. She did withdraw it. Keep in mind, that can come back as a zombie bill. It can come back as an amendment. If not this year, then maybe next year. So I think it's valuable just to see, and you can see all the bills that are filed at IGA, at the IGA website. And I think it's valuable just to kind of look through them. And that's why, on our bill tracker, we've also left up all the bills that are dead. We've just marked them as dead, but I think it's good to just see where the lawmakers' heads are. What are some of them?
Yes, dead, but potentially a zombie.
Yeah, it's good to see what's coming. And I think it also is, as frustrating as it is, it's good to see what were some of the good bills passed. They didn't happen, but it's good to see, that they could have.
Yeah, you could see which representatives are putting out good stuff, at least, for consideration going into the elections in November. So their education bills have been very much about deregulating the private education space in a way, and there is a bill, a big environmental deregulation bill that's also up for debate currently. Yes,
right. There are some quite a few fantastic environmental and consumer advocacy groups out there here in Indiana. And so Citizens Action Coalition, Hoosier Environmental Council. Like there's a lot of them doing really good work. SB 277 is one that was brought up by one of those organizations to us recently. And that's one we've added to our tracker because of the impact. We're focused on civic empowerment and equity and quality of life for people. And so, that's why we looked at this particular environmental bill and said, this is in our scope because it broadly deregulates environmental protections. Deregulation isn't even the right word. It guts it. So it takes IDEM, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, and removes tons of its responsibilities. Excuse me. So it basically is taking, like, you look at the code, the law, and it's taking tons of things away from they shall do this. Okay, all these mandates that IDEM is supposed to oversee, and they're changing them to may. So IDEM can do this. They're no longer going to be required to oversee.
It's a big legal distinction. It sounds like polite words, shall and may, but these like legally may are very distinct.
Yes. So, all of a sudden, if we're now saying, oh, they can or they can't, it's up to them. They can decide, environmental oversight, the permitting process, what are the polluters doing and what are they polluting? These are all things that who's going to watch over it now if they don't have to? And it's a frustrating, I told you so, right? To like all these folks who are the whole MAHA movement. We want healthier things for our children. Well, we're not getting healthier by deregulating, and I think that word deregulating is such a loaded word. You've got some people who see it as, oh, it's about our freedoms, but then the reality is if you don't have guardrails on these big industries, big tech or, the utility companies, things like that, I mean, they'll take you to the cleaners. We have to have those guardrails on them because it is just profit with them. And unfortunately, when you're deregulating and allowing the big industries to basically set the terms of what they're going to do, it's a recipe for disaster. And we can't afford it in Indiana. I mean, our air and our water is among the worst in the nation.
Yeah.
Our utility bills are one of the highest. And our governor is very, very excited to bring nuclear power and data centers here to Indiana because he says it's going to create jobs. Well, with what infrastructure? I mean, the winter storm that we have, we were all getting alerts of, lower your electricity usage because the strain on the grid's going to be so high.
Yeah, you think the data centers are getting those alerts?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to add even more to it. So it's just the deregulation, whether it's with housing or utilities or environment, what it ends up doing is basically you're just making loopholes, for big entities, big corporations, big industry to exploit with all their big fancy lawyers. And
so that's, deregulation is kind of a Republican mantra and has been for just the longest time. Anything that might require businesses to, take the extra step and make sure they're not harming their environment or their neighbors.
Yeah.
But there's the next bill actually, in a way, talks about regulation, right? They talk about putting requirements on campaign lobbyists and stuff, and that sounds incredibly reasonable up front. Why is this bill loaded?
Okay, yeah, loaded's a good way to put it. Right. So SB 267.
I can't hear you again, Katie.
Oh, can you hear me now? Let me see. Can you hear me now?
No.
Oh, no.
I don't think it's me. So I'm going to talk about
you go ahead,
267 here for a minute while Katie figures out her audio here. But so under the guise, do I hear you? I think I hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are.
Can you hear me now? Good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That was weird. Okay, good. Speaking of infrastructure, internet. Not great. Not great. Okay, yeah, 267's a weird one. There were a few really weird ones, and I want to talk about the weird bills. So 267's one of those, when you read through it, it sounds good, like transparency and political funding. Like, that sounds great. And then you read it and you realize they're talking about paid protesters. This idea of paid protesters, because hello, where's my paycheck? Where's your paycheck, Scott? Like,
still waiting on that Soros check from 5 years ago, Katie. Never showed up.
Still waiting. Right. But that's what 267's about. Is you've got a few folks, and if you look at the authors of the bill, it's the usual suspects. Just the MAGA rhetoric of, we've got paid protesters, and so they're trying to write up all these rules and regulations for people who donate. At what point in the bill it says $500, but then another point it's talking about $25, like in increments. The point of that is you're trying to trip up people. So now all of a sudden, if you've got someone who's like, I will donate, cases of water for your event, well, now they have to register as like a campaign influencer, because now they're saying a campaign can also be like an influence campaign, can be an issue. Like lobbyists for legislation and campaigns, like they have to register. There's already a process in place. This is just adding more bureaucracy, and it's basically just like adding stumbling blocks. And I don't see this bill probably moving forward much as currently written, just because it's not enforceable. There's no way that the
But if it's on the books, it's selectively enforceable, right?
That's the problem. Exactly. It's going to be like, our Attorney General's Eyes on Education portal that's supposed to catch all these bad actors in education, and yet magically it only ever shows, all these bad teachers doing things like teaching empathy and diversity. They're just...
Well, speaking of bad actors in education, Katie, and I don't think I pulled the graphic card for this one, but Senate Bill 200.
That's okay. I don't have one yet. No, this was a weird one that I've been sort of studying over the last few days. I don't have one yet because I really wanted to see what happened on the Senate floor with this one. What I'm thinking is happening, and it appears that this is the case. So there's a bill, SB 200, that appears to be setting the stage to tie the hands of schools and prevent them from being able to tell Turning Point and other right-wing propaganda organizations, no, we don't want you in our schools. So right now, in Indiana law, there's a provision that schools need to allow at least one day a year. It can be during the school day, or it can be like an evening where students and families are available, where these organizations can come and just kind of talk about different involvement opportunities. Okay, fine. This bill is now saying there needs to be 2 days a year, and they're going to create a grievance process if a school says, no, you can't come on our property. And so, when I first saw this, I thought, I feel like they're talking about like the Turning Point chapters. Well, then just the other day, one of the big Turning Point spokespeople, Alex Clark,
a Hoosier, yeah.
She posted like, I'm so excited. My home state of Indiana is going to be launching Turning Point USA chapters, like an official partnership. So according to Alex Clark, in March, we're going to be partnering with Turning Point USA here in Indiana. Congresswoman Erin Houchin also shared something on social media. So it to me reads like they're sort of preemptively creating this law that is going to tie the hands of schools and force them into accepting these organizations that come onto campus and say, we want to start a Turning Point chapter, and create some sort of grievance process, punishment, basically, if they don't comply.
Well, kids, if you find a Turning Point chapter at your school, that means it's the onus is on you to go ahead and start like a Satanic Temple chapter in your school too, because if they got to let in one, they got to let in all of them.
They're going to they call them Club America in high school. So, Turning Point, Club America, it's the same thing.
They've gone from Club America to Shoot America, but that's
so
play on words.
Yeah, be on the lookout for those. They screamed about indoctrination for years, and yet here they are doing the indoctrination.
Indeed. Indoctrination for thee, but not for me, but not for thee, right? Like, it's not all bad though, right? I mean, we talked at the top,
right.
the 1001 and 1002 were kind of decent bills. There are some other good bills actually making their way through. Why don't you talk about 1065?
Okay, so 65 is banning gratuities, which would be like bribes, rewards, things like that, over $100 to public officials. Great. I'm glad to see that one passed. Every year we see really good bills that get filed and they just die on the floor. So glad to see this one's move forward. Fantastic. It's passed committee. We would anticipate it getting passed by the House this week if it's going to make it over to the Senate. 1066 is another good one. This past year, you guys might have remembered in the news, our Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith spending, and our Secretary of State, Diego Morales, spending north of 85, 90 grand on luxury cars for themselves using taxpayer dollars. So Representative Mitch Gore has filed this bill saying you can't do that. If you're going to use taxpayer dollars, you're going to just get like a nice regular base model car. So that one has moved forward as well. So that's fantastic. Like, our elected officials need to live lives as regular people. If they're going to set the laws for all of us, they can live like the rest of us. They don't need to be driving around in luxury cars on taxpayer dollars. Yeah. Taxpayer dime.
Well,
so those are good.
That concludes the good news.
No. There's a couple more. I would say though, I mean, like
on the back end of this is, okay. Oh, there are still a couple
good ones.
Yes,
good ones. And then I'm sorry, guys, we're going to end on a bad note, but that's just the way it is. But no, I will say, when you see these good bills, do call about them. Because we don't want them to just die on the floor. We don't want them to cross over and then they don't get a hearing in the Senate. So call about the good bills too, and let your elected officials know, like, hey, I like this bill and I want to make sure it gets through. And you guys can kind of see on the screen, when you go to the website, it'll ask you for your location. And the reason why it asks that for the bill tracker part is because it will tell you what House and Senate district you're in. And it'll give you your representative's direct number to like their assistant's desk. You don't actually talk to the lawmaker themselves. You're going to talk to their legislative assistant.
No, you don't get to talk to the lawmaker yourselves.
Yeah, no, they don't do that. So a lot of times, you'll get their voicemail. But that way you can actually leave a voicemail. Otherwise, if you're just calling a switchboard, it's only open during the week. But the numbers that we're going to have on the website, if you allow the location, it'll go to like a desk with voicemail.
Jessica was adamant that we emphasized this last week. You guys do not collect that location data. No. It's just so people
I don't even know what to do with it. No, I mean, you can turn it off if you don't want it. That's fine. But I think it's helpful, because it just tells you exactly who to call. But no, I don't know what we'd even do with that data. I don't know.
Yeah. So here's a good bipartisan bill.
This was good.
Here, right?
So this was a bill. Senator Fatty Cadora put this up last year. It was a Senate bill. It passed the Senate like unanimously or nearly unanimously, and then it went to the House and it just died. Like, what? But he did it again. He's trying it again. And it's gone through the Senate. I'm sorry, no, it hasn't gone through the Senate. It's going through, rather. We anticipate it should continue to go through this week, so that it's eligible to go to the House side. So that might be a good one to call and be like, hey, I like this one. Make sure it gets through, because it's protecting patients from like aggressive medical debt collections from hospitals. It's creating some transparency for hospitals. It's really meant to address like people's healthcare debts, and prevent like medical liens and things like that against healthcare debt on your home and stuff like that. So it's a good bill. We're happy with SB 85.
Good. And then, okay, final good news here. This is the last one, I promise. I don't want people to get their hopes up.
Yeah, don't be too happy here, guys. SB 91. So Indiana's got a syringe exchange program, which is helping to reduce the spread of HIV and hepatitis. And last time it was passed, it was like a 10-year program. Well, it's coming up on, sunsetting. It's going to end this year unless they pass a new extension for the next 10 years. And that's something we definitely want to pass. I mean, Indiana made national headlines about 10 years ago or so when we had some serious outbreaks in Scott County and some other areas of the state. And syringe exchange programs are proven to help, improve public health. They don't encourage addiction or anything like that. So that's kind of one of the big anti-talking points. But no, the research shows like these help. It's passed committee. Unfortunately, there were a couple members, Senator Liz Brown and Senator Tyler Johnson, who is an emergency room doctor and should know better, voted against it. But the rest of them voted for it. So it's passed committee, and it's going to go to the whole Senate. So that's another one to support. Would hate to see that fire.
Some of the same ghouls just keep coming up again and again and again, and it blows my mind that that Banks and Rokita are trying to primary Liz Brown because she's not far right enough. But that's neither here nor there, I guess. Let us look at these couple high alert bills before we close out here today.
Yeah. Okay.
We should have put the good stuff at the end, Katie. What are we doing?
We probably should have. Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, these are the things we need to call our legislators on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a short session, but they're not short on the BS. They've put in some bad ones this year. 182 is trying to erase the recognition of intersex, trans, non-binary Hoosiers. Basically, it will take Indiana code, our book of laws, and it will basically say that gender and sex are the same. If there's man or there's woman, which is not supported by reality, science. Intersex people exist, non-binary people exist, trans people exist. And unfortunately, this bill was actually made worse. They amended in a few other bills. So there's a few bills that have died, but they pulled that language in. So there was like a bill to ban people from using bathrooms if they're not the correct biological sex. They pulled that in, added that. There was a bill to say, people must be sex segregated in correctional facilities. So they pulled that one in. And watching the live stream of this one was hard because they kept using the same worn out, tired, hateful talking points of, this trope of dangerous trans women. And that is just, it's infuriating because the reality, the evidence shows trans people are much more likely to be victimized, abused, harassed, and assaulted than they are to be the aggressor. They are the ones that are in a much more vulnerable position. And yet, seeing people go up to testify and hearing some of our own lawmakers repeat these talking points of, oh no, they're dangerous. It's pretty sick. Just how hateful and closed-minded some people can be. And this is one of those, this does not help anyone. This does not resolve anything. It doesn't improve healthcare. It doesn't improve affordability. It doesn't make us safer. It's just a hateful bill. And this is going to be one of the most
bad people feel better about themselves, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the most sweeping anti-trans bill that we've seen here in Indiana. We've seen them ban trans youth from sports. This one is much wider in scope. This is going to apply to, trans youth, bathroom at school. It's going to apply to folks trying to, get a birth certificate that affirms who they are, who they're living by, who they're living as. It's impacting people in correctional facilities, like universities, even for bathrooms, locker rooms, storms, all that stuff. And so this is one that is up for amendments in the Senate. They'll, then have the final passage. We would anticipate probably this week. And then it would go over to the House. And so there's time to stop it. There's time to change it. There's time to amend it, add guardrails, whatever. I mean, it's a bad bill, but it's not over yet, so continue to reach out. But
call your legislators on this one. Protect our trans friends. There are not enough trans folks out there to overwhelm the switchboard. That's what we are for.
Right. And I mean, it's being an ally means we show up and we do what maybe they can't, I mean, it was really heartbreaking watching the live stream, and there were several trans people who came out, outed themselves in front of all these strangers, told their very vulnerable, very personal story. And for some of our lawmakers to dismiss them or insist that they're in the wrong, it was really sickening. Just parents, sobbing, trying to get these lawmakers to care about their child. and having to beg for a little bit of dignity for their kids. It was really sad to watch. So if they can do that, if they can bring themselves to the Statehouse and do that, we can pick up the phone and call and email, and do it often,
Yes.
And when you call, I mean, be polite, be firm. Again, you're not talking to the lawmaker, you're talking to their assistant, and it's usually like some college-age kid. So be polite, be firm. And you can call every day if you want. I mean, it's not one of those things like, oh, I called once, I'm done. Like, you can call and say, this is an issue that matters to me, and I'm checking in every day, or I'm checking in periodically. This is a big one.
Yeah. And another big one, the hits just keep coming with these guys. The Senate Bill 236 is incredibly dangerous. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yep. So Indiana's already banned abortion. We were the first state to do it after Roe fell. This one just extends and continues the attacks on reproductive freedom. So now they're saying, okay, now you can't possess abortion pills. You can't mail them. You can't distribute them. We cannot, order them from out of state, have them shipped in. Notably, like these are medications that are used to manage miscarriages as well. Well, of course, the bill author, again, Senator Tyler Johnson, I think Senator Liz Brown's on there as a co-author now, I believe.
Of course she is.
Yes, the dynamic duo. But, their thing is like, well, and she said this during the live stream, well, if a patient needs it, the doctor will be able to get it for them. It's like, that is so dismissive of the actual reality. And again, lots of patients, lots of physicians testified against this bill, and they said this causes a chilling effect. If a doctor now has to, is now under additional oversight, if they prescribe this medicine, then they're going to be more likely to be like, why don't you just go home and see if, your body will process this miscarriage, in a day, and then come back to me. So, I mean, we're just compounding trauma. We're compounding potential healthcare complications. It's like, it should be a decision between a patient and the doctor. We don't need lawmakers in the delivery room with us. We don't need lawmakers in the doctor's office with us. And unfortunately...
Yeah, and all that's bad enough, right?
Yeah. But it gets worse.
There's this bounty provision.
It gets worse, yeah. So this is kind of language modeled after what happened in Texas, or what Texas did. So basically, if you think that someone's violating this abortion pill ban, you can sue them and you can win $100,000, for stopping someone who is sending, mailing, or possessing abortion pills. There's also wrongful death lawsuits that can be filed. So, I mean, this just has the potential to completely overwhelm not only our healthcare system, but our legal landscape as well, and be very costly. And so it's just very concerning all around. The bill also tries to redefine abortion. And so, like, if you go to the doctor and you're having a miscarriage, that is classified as an abortion. It's a spontaneous abortion, but it's still an abortion. They're trying to basically say, like, no, that's not an abortion anymore. It's like, well, you can't move the goalposts, people. Like, the doctors the whole healthcare industry says.
It's like the trans bill too. They're trying to say that things are a certain way when they are verifiably not that way. I'm a nerd, Katie, and I remember like in high school when we were in like geometry class or whatever, they told us that one time Indiana tried to define pi,
yes,
as just 3, right?
You can't do that. Just because you want it to be so doesn't mean that's how it is. So yes, yeah, exactly. A couple other really concerning bills we've got. 285. I am really hoping we can defeat this one. We defeated it last year. Lots of organizations banded together on this. Lots of housing coalitions. This is I think we can defeat again. And this is a bill to criminalize homelessness. Basically, the bill says if you are camping on state-owned property, public property, and they tell you to leave and they come back and you're still there, then you can have a Class C misdemeanor, which would be $500 fee or 60 days in jail. Okay. Giving someone a criminal record does not help them secure housing.
How the hell are you going to find somebody $500 when
they don't have
they're sleeping on the streets? Like,
exactly, it's insane.
Good luck.
Like, how, yeah, I just, how do we on one hand say, oh gosh, our jails are so full, and then also be like, oh, here, like, let's add more people. They're not violent offenders, but let's put them in jail because they're poor. Like, that's what is happening here, is we're criminalizing people for being unhoused. We're criminalizing poverty. When the reality is it's cheaper to just create permanent housing. That's cheaper. It's cheaper for the emergency rooms. You don't have the emergency room visits. You don't have, with the shelters, like, just house people. Once they have that foundation, that stability of a home, they're much more likely to succeed with employment and with, social relationships and all kinds of things. But when people don't have that foundation of a home, it's very hard. It's like trying to build a foundation on marshmallows, where there's no stable foundation without a home. So
criminalizing homelessness, criminalizing trans people, criminalizing abortion, it just attacks on people who are already in vulnerable positions.
Correct. Yep. The last high alert bill that I want to flag, and there was going to be a committee vote tomorrow. It is now going to be Tuesday. So if the roads are clear Tuesday, we'd love to see you at the Statehouse to protest this bill, because there will be public testimony on this. The other ones that we've talked about today, most of them, they're going to the floor for discussion. You can be in the gallery to observe, but you can't speak. This one, 1086, you can come in, you can sign up to talk, probably only 2 or 3 minutes. It is mandating that schools post the 10 commandments. This is not constitutional. The Supreme Court said in 1980, you cannot do this. And then Indiana said, hold my beer. You can't do this. But they're going to try anyway, and other states have tried as well. And it's frustrating because all this is going to do is lead to some sort of protracted legal battle that's going to cost lots of money. This does not help our schools. We hear in these education committee hearings, we hear from some of these lawmakers, we need to deregulate schools, we need to reduce mandates, we need to improve local control. This is the complete opposite. It's hypocrisy.
And the worst of it, I think, Katie, is that we just talked about these 3 bills where they are spending their time and our state resources attacking the least of these, and then they have the audacity to go call themselves Christians and put this thing through the Statehouse. We've only got a couple minutes left here, Katie. Why don't you take us home and remind folks once again where they can find MADVoters and your fantastic bill tracker.
Thank you. MADVoters.org, and there's on the home screen, you can click on bill tracker. You can also follow us on socials. We're most active on Facebook and Instagram. You can also find us on Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok. And we post regularly with updates, but if you go to that website, you'll be able to follow along with the bill tracker and get in touch with your lawmakers. And if a bill is in the committee stage still, there will also be the committee chairman's or chairwoman's contact information. Even if that's not your assigned state rep or state senator, you can still call the chairperson. You can say, I'm calling because they're the chairperson and they're the one who decided to bring this bill up. And you can definitely leave a message with them. I do that all the time. I've only gotten pushback like one time, and I told the assistant, I said, I understand what you're saying. Like, this person is not my representative, but I'm calling them because they're the chairperson, and I want them to hear from me directly instead of having to play telephone. Again, be polite.
Great power comes great responsibility, and it means taking those calls.
Yeah, so you can absolutely call the chairperson on the bills assigned to them. Once they leave committee, then it's going to the full Senate, the full House. Then you just call your state rep or your state senator. But for the bills in the committee, definitely call the chairperson too. You can email as well, but calls are most effective. Just that little extra, I think.
It's something about having the phone on the desk ringing all day.
Yeah.
It puts the fear of God in folks.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, very good. Katie, thank you so much for being here. Always appreciate seeing you and all the fantastic information and context you provide.
Thank you.
Hopefully things go well this week at the Statehouse. Either way, we will see you or somebody from MADVoters next week for another update from the Indiana Statehouse. But until that time, on behalf of my guest tonight, Katie Rector, I am Scott Aaron Rogers, and love each other, Indiana.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, Scott. Thank you.